Yo guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us again. So just been downstairs messing around a little bit more intake carburetor stuff, and I thought I'd throw the camera on, show you guys what I've been working on. I've done a couple little tricks, some stuff more about that Holley XP that you saw a couple videos ago, and I've done a little bit more modification to my intake manifold as well. Some trick stuff that not a lot of guys do, but I'll explain what I did and why I did it, and of course let you guys check it out. And again, this might serve as a couple little tips for you guys, or just something cool, let you guys know I'm still working away on the project, and I have received information from the machine shop actually that our short block is getting worked on now, so it should be here within, fingers crossed, a week. That should be the next video, is us having that 414 small block Mopar, and then after that, you know what we're doing. Heads, cam, dyno, in the car, drag racing. So it's on its way. Thank you for being patient with me. It's been a long time. Man, it's just been frustrating with all the part shortages and whatnot, but looks like it's coming. But let's get into this intake, show you guys what I've been working on, and explain what's going on. Okay, so right off the bat, you can see that I've finished it off with some throttle linkage, return spring setup. I got a proper fuel line for it now. And you can see that I have added some water lines to the back of the intake, to the front section. So we'll talk about all that stuff. We'll start with the linkage stuff first, because if you guys remember in that last video, I talked about how the linkage assembly on those XPs is a little different than your standard Holley. So I picked up this bracket and assembly from, I think it's AED was the company name. Cheap price, you know, 65 bucks. It's just aluminum anodized. That's the proper piece for a low car setup, which is what I run in the car. And then as far as the return spring setup, this is where I kind of ran into the first problems. Because that XP linkage is different than a standard Holley. See if I can zoom in there. See how large that top hole is on the linkage? Oh, look at that, good camera work. It's so much smaller on this guy that the kit came with this return spring setup and this guy here, and it just did not fit in that hole. So I kind of ran into a bit of a problem there. This is a nice setup. It would bolt up perfectly to a standard Holley. Does not fit the XP though, and then you might be like, well, just drill your hole here and then it'll fit the larger pivot. But you know what? I do not want to modify the $1,100 part. I'll modify the $65 part all day long. So I got a small piece of aluminum angle, drilled it, and then used a dual spring setup and just linked it through, and that is pretty decent actually. It actually cleans up some of the geometry, makes it nice and straight, and here we can do this, and you get a really good kickback. And I have a little adjustment out the front too. You will have to run some larger studs, as that guy is 1/4 inch aluminum, so it's pretty thick, but once you get some larger studs, I still have to do that. It's a nice unit. It's decent for the price. The low car piece, this is actually really nice. I like that. Overall, it's a little big. I still might actually trim the back of it and then weld it up and just kind of clean it up. I really like making the whole package look neat and tidy. If you guys watch any of my videos, you kind of know that. So I might try to shrink the overall size, but that is the linkage setup for now. Looks decent on there. Okay, let's talk about the fuel now. Okay, so now our fuel lines. So if you guys remember in that last video, I talked about how those inlets for the XP are a -8 O-ring, which is different than your standard Holley, and they do come with these guys here. They're only -6 to -8, and I wanted to run a complete -8 assembly. So I tried to piece one together because nothing was available at the time. I picked up these -8 extensions, so -8 O-ring to standard -8 here from Holley. And then tried to actually make my own, but they're a little bit short. Messed around with that for a bit, and then eventually I saw that this unit came up back in stock, and this is actually a Summit brand kit specifically for those XPs. It's the proper extra distance in between because those guys are a little bit larger, and it has the proper -8 O-rings. Extends it out, really nice unit. I bought a couple of these for regular carburetors again, but only in -6. So this -8 O-ring unit is really nice for the price. It was half the cost of the Holley unit. And the Holley unit, if you want to run a full -8, you'd have to buy these guys again with a -8 O-ring and a -8 out, because they're not as smooth as this. It takes a fitting there and then it plugs in and then extends it out. So these Summit ones are a great value. Nice looking piece. The one thing that I always do with them though, this T-joint here,
This is the one that comes with it. It has a fitting for a gauge. If you're not running the gauge, you're like, oh, okay, you just run the fitting in. Problem with that is I've had them leak before, and also if you can see inside there, as you run it in, it's NPT, so the further it goes in, the tighter it gets. So you got to run them in quite a bit. That's not full tight yet. You can see it would be flush if it was. It starts to come inside to the line, and that's a little bit of an impediment to your fuel. So I always just get a smooth one that's clean in and out, no NPT fitting, and then it's a nice full flowing system. That one there was a Russell brand, and it's really nice. Matches up. The anodizing's nice on all this stuff, so that's a nice looking unit. Love the Dash 8, looks really good. Okay, now let's talk to the big one. The one thing everyone's like, what the hell are those water lines? Okay, so the biggest modification I made, well, not really that big, but the modification I made that most guys don't usually make is I did add water lines to this intake. So you can see that those Dash 8 fittings go all the way from the front of the intake to the back of the intake. And what we're doing there is we're getting the water out of the back of the heads quicker. So what we did to do that is I simply marked out on the gasket fitting where the water jacket is on the head, drilled it 3/8 NPT, used the 3/8 NPT fitting to Dash 8, and then created my own AN lines to run into the front of the intake. Now you might be like, well, you're gonna need to run a thermostat or a temperature fitting. I can run it out the front here using, where is it? Using this fitting here. So that's a 3/8 NPT in the front there, so that will take all your regular water fittings that you would put there for temperature. I can run it right here. I do not run a bypass on my intakes. I run no thermostat and no heater, so I can delete the bypass. Cleans up the front of the intakes, just not necessary for my program. So you're probably saying, well, why do I need that? Those intakes don't come like that. I've never seen that before. Well, this is something you will see on all circle track engines. All high performance circle track racers kind of do this. That's who kind of put me onto it. They'll say that it'll take 10 degrees out of your engine. So 10 degrees out of your engine temp, if you've ever been drag racing and your motor's creeping up around 200, would you want it at 200 or would you want it at 190? I'll take 190 all day long if all I got to do is tap a couple holes and run some lines. You will also see this on all LS engines do this, and W8, 9 engines do this as well. I think W7 do too, which are the super high performance Mopar engines. They were NASCAR pedigree for a long time, and in fact the W8 and 9s I believe have another water jacket here that pulls water out of the heads quicker too. And what they're going for is even cylinder temperatures, because the water can get trapped in there, so at the back of the motor it can get a lot hotter than the front of the motor. The water is exiting quicker here, stuck in back there, higher temps here, cooler temps here, mismatch of temperature. The more even it can run, the better it will run, the more horsepower you will make. And again, that just looks super awesome. And factory intakes actually have a modification of this as well. They don't go front to back like that, but there is a crossover back there. Some guys do just link them up and just do a crossover back there too, which is also effective. But I like running them right to the front, really trick it out. And if I ever decide I don't want to run those, a simple 3/8 MPT plug fitting, boom, done. Back to original. So just something a little extra. Super trick. And the last thing I'll show you guys too is just a little bit of that port action. This is that intake I did the port video on, obviously, because it's going to be on the new motor. But I'll just show you this. I never showed you guys this on the that video after I got the carburetor on. Crack it open and you can see that is a straight shot down. Like that a lot. Awesome. Because that had big inclusions in the sides there. Those intakes definitely need a little bit of work. So pretty stoked on that. Doesn't get too much better than that. Drop right down into the intake, into the heads, big power.
So that is going to close out this video, guys. Thanks again for watching. Just wanted to click the camera on, let you guys know I'm not slacking, still working on the project. Motor is coming soon, I swear, I hope. Shout out to my subs too. Thanks to the guys who mentioned the tip about the ratchet strap across the torsion bar, so hold the trans up. That was a great tip. Got that on the program now, so stay tuned. New videos coming soon. Thanks for watching, guys.